There are plenty of RPGs with great stories, but these are the RPGs that respect your intelligence. They don't give you all the answers and trust you to figure things out for yourself. They let you deal with difficult choices and force you to live with the consequences. And sometimes, the more answers you find, the more questions they leave behind. Before we begin, this video contains major spoilers for every game on the list. Number 10. The Last of Us Part 1. The Last of Us is one of the realest stories I've ever played, and the fact that I'm saying that about a zombie game says a lot. The story works not because of the infection itself, but because of the way people react to the world around them, especially Joel. The trauma of losing his daughter completely shaped the person he became. Cold, distant, violent, and emotionally closed off just to survive another day in a world that constantly takes people away from him. In the world of The Last of Us, there are barely any clear heroes or villains. Except of that psychopath David. Fuck that guy. Almost everyone exists somewhere in the moral grey area between survival and humanity. People steal, kill, betray, and justify terrible things simply because the world forced them into impossible situations. And the game constantly asks the same uncomfortable question: what are you willing to do to survive? And after all that darkness, the game gives us Ellie. She becomes the light in a world that constantly tries to crush every bit of hope left in people. And even though Ellie herself has already seen more violence and loss than most adults ever will, she slowly brings back the parts of Joel that he buried long ago. Not the survivor, the father. What starts as partnership built on survival eventually becomes something much deeper. Not just protector and child, but something closer to a father and daughter, and in the finale, Joel chooses his daughter over the entire world. And whether you agree with him or not, The Last of Us never tells you how you're supposed to feel about the decision. It simply leaves you alone with the consequences. Number 9. Control is a weird game. At first, I had no idea what was going on, and was pretty much lost. Something about an office, a new director, the oldest house, and a series of strange events that nobody seemed willing to explain. It made me feel like I was missing something. And while that frustrated me at first, probably because most modern games hold your hand every step of the way, I eventually started enjoying not knowing. Piecing together what was happening through notes, classified reports, recordings, and conversations became part of the experience. In Control, mystery isn't just part of the story, it is the story. Even the powers you get are part of that mystery. They are tied to objects of power. Strange items with their own story and rules. The same goes for the service weapon. It's not just a gun, it's the reason Jesse becomes the new director in the first place. After a while, you stop trying to understand everything. The oldest house plays by its own rules. Rooms shift, reality bends, and things that should make absolutely no sense somehow become normal. Most games are afraid of leaving the player confused. Control embraces it. The deeper I went into the oldest house, the less I understood, and for the first time in a long time, that felt refreshing. Control doesn't want you to have all the answers. It wants you to keep asking questions. Number 8. Dragon Age Origins. Dragon Age Origins has one of the best RPG openings ever made because you live as your character before the main story even begins. Your origin isn't just a backstory explained through dialogue. You actually experience it. Whether you begin as a noble, a mage, or a city elf, the world feels personal long before the real crisis starts. And once that crisis arrives, Ferelden falls apart. The kingdom is under threat from the Darkspawn, corrupted creatures led by an ancient archdemon, while the Grey Wardens, the only order capable of stopping them, are nearly wiped out after a massive betrayal. What makes Dragon Age Origins stand out is that saving the world never feels simple. Every alliance comes with political tension, old hatred, or historical conflict. Humans, elves, dwarves, and mages all have reasons to distrust each other, which makes the struggle to unite Ferelden feel believable instead of idealistic fantasy. The companions are a huge part of that. Characters like Morrigan, Alistair, and Leliana begin to feel less like party members and more like people trying to survive the collapse of the world alongside you. And that's why the choices still hold up today. Dragon Age Origins doesn't just let you shape the ending. It makes you responsible for the consequences that come with trying to hold the broken world together. Number 7. The Wolf Among Us. What do you get when you mix a noir detective story with murders, drugs, human trafficking, and the fairy tales we all grew up with? You get The Wolf Among Us. Meet Big Wolf. Yes, the big bad wolf himself, now working as the sheriff of Fabletown, a hidden community where fairy tale characters live secretly among ordinary humans. And Bigby is trying very hard to keep law and order without falling back into the violent monster everyone still remembers him as. Based on the Fable comics by Vertigo, the game takes the characters we all grew up with and puts them somewhere they were never meant to be. These aren't magical childhood icons anymore. They're broken, desperate people chasing power, money, survival, or control, hiding in plain sight and barely managing it. As Bigby, your job isn't just to find the killer. It's to understand a community that was already cracking long before the killing started. Because almost nobody here feels fully innocent. Every character is hiding something. Tensions have been building for years. And the deeper you investigate, the more you realize. The murders aren't the disease, they are just the first symptom. The game rewards you for paying attention, not just to the case, but to the people, to the politics, to what Fabletown actually is beneath the surface. And what it is a place running on fear, corruption, and old grudges, held together by nothing more than the shared need to survive. Because in Fabletown, happy endings stopped existing a long time ago. Number 6. The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt. The Witcher 3 is one of my favorite RPGs because its world feels both deeply personal and completely indifferent to you at the same time. At the center of the story is Geralt's search for Ciri, someone he has seen as family. But for the rest of the world, Ciri is more than a person. She's leverage, a political asset pursued by emperors, kings, and the Wild Hunt itself for their own reasons. This makes the writing feel so mature. Your choices have consequences, but they don't magically reshape the world around you. Wars continue, kingdoms fall apart, and ordinary people still suffer no matter how skilled or experienced Geralt may be. Geralt himself is also one of the biggest reasons the story works so well. He constantly tries to do the right thing in situations where a truly good outcome often doesn't exist. And unlike many RPGs, that level of writing extends far beyond the main story. In my last playthrough, I realized something interesting. Some of the stories I remembered as major parts of the main plot were actually optional side quests. The murder mystery in Novigrad, the Tower of Mice questline, even the conspiracy to end Radovic's reign. That's how consistently strong is the writing throughout the entire game. Most RPGs save their best storyline for the main quest, but in The Witcher 3, even optional stories can feel essential to the world, its politics, and the people living in it, because the game constantly treats its world and characters like they exist beyond the player's immediate attention. And that's why it still stands out. Creating a world this massive is already difficult. Making even its smallest stories feel human takes something else entirely. Number 5. Kingdom Come Deliverance. Kingdom Come Deliverance was probably the hardest entry to choose. Because while I think the sequel is the better overall game, this video is about storytelling. And the story of a lowly peasant trying to survive in a war-torn Bohemia with no status, no experience, and no real understanding of the world around him is a tale worth telling. The second game is driven by revenge, and it does that incredibly well, but the first game is about survival. I played Kingdom Come Deliverance without really knowing what kind of RPG it was, and honestly, it completely surprised me. Henry starts as less than an average man. He can barely fight, can't read, has no real combat experience, and struggles with almost everything the world throws at him. You have to spend hours training just to make him feel somewhat competent. And that's what makes the first few hours so memorable. Most RPGs want the player to feel powerful immediately. Kingdom Come does the exact opposite. It makes you feel vulnerable, inexperienced, and completely out of place. Running for your life, traumatized by the brutality of medieval Europe. Because realistically, that's probably who most of us would be in a world like this. You slowly learn how to become part of this brutal society, and over time, Henry begins to change alongside the player. Skills that once felt impossible slowly becomes natural. Combat becomes less desperate. You slowly earn your place in the world. Kingdom Come Deliverance isn't just the story of becoming a knight. It's the story of surviving long enough to become one. Number 4. The Banner Saga. The Banner Saga works best when you experience all 3 games as one long journey. Your choices carry over from one game to the next, shaping relationships, changing the fate of the caravan, and ultimately affecting how the story ends. The Banner Saga feels less like a fantasy adventure and more like a civilization dying in front of you. Every race is desperately trying to survive the darkness as the world collapses around them. Humans, the Val, and even the stone-like dreads, enemies trapped in war for generations. They begin to feel like survivors of the same apocalypse. At first, the humans and the Val believe it's simply another Dredge invasion. But as the journey continues, they realize something far worse is happening. The Dredge aren't invading, they are fleeing. Nothing is ever as it first appears. All the enemies become victims of the same dying world. Trusted leaders make devastating mistakes, and sometimes the best intentions lead to the worst possible outcomes. People like Rook, Hakon and Iver aren't legendary heroes trying to save the world. They're exhausted leaders carrying the responsibility of hundreds of lives while understanding they may not be able to save everyone. And over time, that pressure breaks people apart. Some lose hope, others become colder just to survive. Friendships collapse, trust disappears, and even good people are eventually forced into terrible decisions. You're not leading heroes marching towards victory. You're leading survivors trying to outrun the end of the world. Number 3. Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic. Knights of the Old Republic is one of the most important RPGs ever made. But what made it unforgettable for me was the mystery behind your character. You begin the game as a Republic soldier, caught in the middle of a war against the Sith Empire, led by Darth Malak after the fall of his master, Revan. As the story progresses, you travel across ancient planets, alongside companions like Bastila San, searching for clues that could stop the Sith before the Republic collapses completely. Eventually, you discover a powerful connection to the Force and begin training with a Jedi on Dantooine. And immediately, something feels wrong. You learn too quickly, you adapt too easily. It feels less like discovering power and more like remembering it. KOTOR slowly builds that mystery throughout the entire game until the truth finally hits you. You are never just another Jedi. You are Revan. And suddenly, the entire story changes. The game stops being about saving the Republic and becomes something far more personal. Whether someone responsible for unimaginable destruction can truly become a different person. And that's why the choice between the light and dark side still works today. Because KOTOR doesn't just ask what kind of hero you want to become. It asks whether people can truly escape who they used to be. Number 2. Cyberpunk 2077. Cyberpunk 2077 is a game about people desperately trying to matter in a city that treats human life as disposable. Night City looks beautiful from a distance, but underneath the neon lights, there's corruption, violence, poverty, and corporations powerful enough to control almost every aspect of life. The law means very little when companies like Arasaka operate above it. At the start of the game, you slowly build a life alongside Jackie Wells, chasing the dream of becoming legends in Night City. You do jobs together, earn money, dream bigger and bigger, and for a while, the game genuinely convinces you that the dream is possible. The game is sly like that. It slowly makes you comfortable before everything suddenly goes to shit. Jackie is gone, you're framed for a murder you didn't commit. And now, you have Johnny fucking Silverhand slowly taking over your body. And that's when Night City truly opens up, not as a futuristic playground, but as a brutal system ruled by gangs, corporations, fixers, and desperate people trying to survive one more day. To stay alive, you slowly become part of the world yourself. You take dangerous jobs, meet broken people chasing impossible dreams, and realize that almost everyone in Night City is trying to hold on to something before the city eventually destroys them too. And that's why Cyberpunk 2077 works so well. Underneath all the chrome, violence, and chaos is a deeply human story about fear, identity, loneliness, and people trying to find meaning in a world designed to consume them. Number 1. Mass Effect is one of the few sci-fi RPGs that makes alien civilization feel believable. If humanity ever discovered intelligent life, it probably wouldn't feel inspiring at first. It would feel political, uncomfortable, like entering a galaxy that already moved on without us. You experienced that world through Commander Shepard, the first human Spectre, at a time when humanity is still young compared to the ancient civilizations that already dominate the galaxy. Humanity isn't special here, it's ambitious, impulsive, desperate to prove it belongs among species that have existed for thousands of years. At the center of galactic civilization stands the Citadel, a massive space station discovered by the Asari, one of the oldest races in the Milky Way. Every species has its own interest, history, and political tensions, which makes the galaxy feel lived in instead of designed around the player. The lore runs deep, but the game never overwhelms you with exposition. It trusts the player to stay curious, pay attention, and slowly understand how this world functions. As commander of the Normandy, Shepard builds a crew from across the galaxy, while uncovering evidence of an ancient threat capable of wiping out entire civilizations. And as the danger grows, so does the realization that survival may depend on uniting species that barely trust each other to begin with. That's why the companions work so well. Characters like Garrus, Tali, and Rex don't feel like party members created to fill gameplay roles. They feel shaped by the galaxy itself, by its history, conflicts, and political divisions, which makes every relationship feel earned. Mass Effect doesn't treat the player like the center of the universe. It treats them like someone trying to find their place in one. These are the kinds of games that stay with you long after the credits roll, not because they give you all the answers, but because they trust you to find them yourself. If there's a game you think belongs on this list, let me know in the comments. Thanks for watching, and as always, enjoy the grind.